Hey everyone, if you're watching this video, it's probably because, like a lot of guitar players, you're stuck within this pentatonic box that we learn early on in our guitar playing, and you'd like to break out of it, but you're not quite sure how to go about it. And everything that we see online is about, the 5 positions of the pentatonic, or the cage system, or learning all of the notes on the fretboard, and that gets really tedious, and it's easy to get lost. There's so much about it that's hard to understand. One approach I haven't seen a whole lot is focusing on the root notes in the pentatonic scale as a place to call home, as opposed to these shapes, and understanding what it is that we're playing. Now, most of us don't want to learn a whole lot of music theory, but a little bit is needed, and not a lot. Now, if you haven't watched my previous video on the reasons why the guitar is tuned this way, the E and the A and the G and the B and the D and all that stuff, and specifically the second string B string, which causes us so many problems because it's tuned differently, you want to go watch that video. It's a bit long, but it does provide a lot of the why these patterns break up, especially when we get on those higher strings. The patterns break up, and that's what makes it complicated. So go watch that video, learn about the fourths, and then come back here. Now, the approach I want to do with the pentatonic is to focus on the root notes, but specifically focus on the root notes and what's around them. We don't need to learn all of the patterns and the shapes if we can find our roots and we can learn what's immediately around them. Now, one word I'm going to utilize a lot is the word relative. So what's immediately surrounding that thing? So one thing we fail to learn when we do the pentatonic box is that if I'm going to take the example of a good old G minor, that first note that's right here on the 3rd fret of the 6th string that's our root note. That's a G. The second note we play is the minor 3rd. Do we need to know what the minor 3rd is? Not at this point. So root, minor 3rd. On the other string, we have the 4th, the 5th, the minor 7th, and now we're back to root. From there, that pattern repeats itself. So the root, the minor 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and because of our B string, that minor 7th, which would normally be right here, we have to move it up 1 fret. But the pattern is the same. There's your minor 7th, and we're back at a root. And once again, from the root, minor 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. So once we understand that, that basic pattern is the only one we really need to know, we can start focusing on those root notes. So root, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 7th, back at the root. Now what's around that root? Because oftentimes we're going to play this box and we'll wind up somewhere on the fretboard, and then we'll be utterly lost, and we don't know how to back our way out of that, and that's a problem. So what's around this root? Now we know that 3 frets to the right is the minor 3rd. So root, minor 3rd, 3 frets. We know that from the root, just below it, is the 4th. Root, minor 3rd, 4th. If we look at our root once again, just above it is the 5th. So root, minor 3rd, 4th, root, 5th. So these are the things that we need to start focusing on, is what's around this root. Now if we go from the root, 2 frets lower is that minor 7th, that flat 7th. Now this applies to all of the roots. This note here on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, that's a G. It's the same G as this, different octave, and it's the same G as that. So if we're stuck here, we can start looking at what's around there to try to get unlost. So root, minor third, fourth, fifth. But now we're at the end of that pattern. And what we fail to do is to look around there and try to reverse our way back. And that would be the first exercise that we do with all of these relative positions. Is start with a root, minor third, root. Now we know that there's a minor seventh 2 frets to the left. Root, minor seventh, root, minor third. And that's what we need to start doing with our fretboard. Say what you're playing, root, minor seventh, root, minor third, fourth, fifth. You only need to learn those 5. You don't need to learn a whole bunch of shapes and patterns. Fourth, root, minor third, root, minor seventh, root. Now, above the root is a fifth, but because I'm on that pesky B string, and again, go watch that other video if you don't understand this, but my fifth is not above it on this string specifically. I have to shift down. There's my fifth. And what's below 5? 4. And what's above the fourth is my root. So what we've done with this exercise is that we've started on one of those root notes, and we kind of reverse engineered our way back to this root note, where there's a minor third and a fourth and a minor third and my root. What's below the root, or just shy of it 2 frets, is that minor seventh. And now we're back into that familiar box, and we started off here, and that's what we want to spend our time doing. I suggest focusing on the G minor scale. Put yourself a G minor backing track if you need to, and just do it that way. Give yourself the exercise to do a G minor backing track, root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, and start again. Root, minor third, fourth, fifth. That minor seventh is 1 fret across because of that pesky B string, and now we're on the root. And when you get there, we're lost. We're so far away from our home that was all the way up here, we don't necessarily know what to do anymore. But if you know where your root is, keep playing there, but then think of a game plan. What's around this root? What can we do from there? My fifth is right there. It's not above because of that G string tuning. Root, fifth, root, minor seventh, root, fifth, root, fourth, minor third, fourth, back on a root. Now, of course, once we've landed on a new root, we have a new home to do that one pattern, but don't focus on the pattern. Focus on the notes. Root, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor seventh, root. Third, minor third, fourth, fifth, minor fourth, minor third, back to the root. So play on top of a G minor backing track. Start from the root position that you know and are familiar with. Move your way up, get lost over here, and then use the notes around it to find your way back home. And that will be the first building block on navigating the fretboard and knowing which notes you're playing in your scale. And at the same time, it'll really, really be useful for learning that this is a G, this is a G, and this is a G, and where they are on the fretboard, so that if you need to do a solo in G minor, you can just start here. And that's your home, and you'll be comfortable with that. This will take some practice, it will take some time. Now in the next video, what we're going to do is we'll go full circle. We'll start from our good old pentatonic box here at the G minor. We'll work our way back down here, and then we'll come full circle and come up here closer to the 12th fret, and then we'll find our way back home. That'll be the next video. Good practicing.